In local government, first of all, we're the level of government that is closest to people, and the things that we do affect the lives of people in tangible and direct ways literally every single day, from the time they get up in the morning and turn on the water and flush the toilet. And that's really personal and direct. And you really like for it to work. You like for that water to come on, you like for it to be clean, you like to take it for granted, and when you flush the toilet, you really like for it to go where it's supposed to go. And that's true across all of the services in local government as you go out from the house and you go about your day at the local level. And so I'm in no way disparaging of the good work that's done at the state and federal level, and I admire my colleagues who work there, but in terms of being able to do things where you can see the consequences of them, you just don't get that anywhere else than you do at the local level. The other thing that is really valuable about working at the local level that I can say now that I'm chronologically my age and not your age, mentally I am still your age and always will be, I hope. It's the best age, it really is. So I hope you enjoy every day. And mentally and emotionally, I'm still very much there. But having now lived twice that long plus, one of the other things that you get to do at the local level, especially when you're working in council manager forms of government, you actually can think beyond election cycles. And you can be involved in things that have generational differences. And that's a really, really cool thing to do. So I worked in Arlington a generation. And when I got there, as I shared with the class this morning, before I got there in the early 1970s, Arlington was a really dying community. It was a mess. But there was visionary leadership in the late 1960s that formed a new vision for Arlington, and it is the Arlington that we see today. And what was so important is that they were able to really think generationally and make big decisions that would have an impact further down the road. And many of them got to see some of the completion of the work. Many of them didn't get to see it at all. And even when I came to Arlington in 1980, it didn't look that impressive. I just got to tell you the truth. And I only ended up going to Arlington in 1980 because I was unemployed and needed a job, and I was about to be kicked out of my apartment. I'd really wanted to go to work somewhere else. But Arlington offered me a job, and so I took it. So here's a suggestion for you. If you're out of a job and somebody offers you one, you might consider taking it. I'm just saying. It's better to have a job than not have a job in most instances. And so it's not the job I wanted. It wasn't the job of my dreams. I thought I'd stay there for a couple of years. I was working in the budget office. I thought I can get some good budget financial skills. Here's another piece of advice for you. If you have a chance to work in the budget office, work in the budget office and get some good financial skills. And seriously, this gets to one of your last questions on the list. Some advice for your career path. Working in a budget office is a really, really good place to develop good, strong technical skills and to get a broad view of your organization. I strongly recommend spending some time there. It's hugely valuable. So I thought I'd stay there for then go do something else. And it wasn't until I actually got into Arlington and I actually saw the plans and I began to see how the community had evolved and the vision that it aspired to. And I got sucked into that vision and I ended up staying there literally 6 months shy of 30 years, and I actually got to see it happen. And it is such a radically different community today than it was in 1980 because of decisions that were made in the 1960s. And so during my tenure as manager from 2001 through 2009, there are two things. One I shared with, I think, Carl earlier today, or maybe it was Jim Savara. It's like every day I got up thinking, don't let me screw this up. Don't screw this up. Don't screw this up. People before you make really good decisions, and you're in a really, really good place right now. But the second thing that really pressed on me and that I talked with our senior staff about doing throughout that period was, what are we doing for the next generation? What are we laying the foundation for that we may not see to completion? And will take the next 10, 20, 30 years to evolve to. And we worked on some of those and feel really good about them. And one of the last projects I was working on was new master plan for Crystal City, if you know that area, right when you come out of Reagan National Airport. It's that big development right there on Route 1, Crystal City and Pentagon City. We're working on a 50-year vision for it. Which leads to sort of a third kind of advice for you. It's similar to one I gave to the class this morning. And, that is, don't be defeated by disappointments. In the class this morning, I was talking about it from a personal level, but I would also say that it's true at an organizational level. Jim Collins, in his most recent book, I think he describes it as return on luck. And so the point is that we all have luck, good luck or bad luck. The question is, what do you do with it? And so oftentimes people would tell me in Arlington, well, yeah, Arlington's a great community. Look where it is. I mean, it's right across the river from Washington, D.C., location, location, location. I said, okay, fine. Go look at Prince George's County, Maryland, and tell me why it doesn't look the same. We have the same location and the same advantages. Now, I'm not disparaging Prince George's County. In fact, they have some fairly new leadership in Prince George's County, and I think the most dramatic positive changes in the Washington region over the next 10 years will be in Prince George's County because they have leadership now that recognizes the asset that they have. They have some vision behind it. They have some integrity in the government, which they had been missing before, and I think they're actually going to do something about it. But one of the other differences between Arlington and Prince George's is Arlington operates under the council manager form of government and Prince George's operates under mayor-council form of government. Now, they're called technically other things, but that's essentially what the forms of government are. And so in the council manager form of government, you do have the opportunity to take those long-term views. And in Crystal City, going back to the return on luck, you know what the BRAC process is, base realignment and closing? This is a process that the federal government goes through with the military periodically to try to bring objective data and analysis to decide how they should deploy their assets, and specifically which of their military installations are no longer cost effective and should be closed. Base realignment and closing. And so it's a very complex process that is always controversial when the federal government goes through it. And it's driven by the Secretary of Defense, but Congress and a commission that reviews the Secretary's recommendations, but very limited changes can be made either by the commission and virtually no changes by the Congress. So it's designed to depoliticize military investment. 2008, if I'm getting the years right, was the last major BRAC process. The jurisdiction with the single largest impact was Arlington, Virginia. We lost 20,000 jobs. Count them. 20,000 jobs in one action. Now, it was spread out over a period of time, and those jobs were not on military bases. They were actually in leased office space that was paying taxes. 4 million square feet of office space scheduled to be vacated, most of it in Crystal City. And so, we fought some of the BRAC recommendations. We were able to keep our most important defense our second most important defense asset. Our most important one's the Pentagon, but that wasn't BRAC'd. But we were able to keep DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Group, that they created the internet and stealth technology and drones and all that kind of stuff, and the technology to spy on us every day. So we were able to keep DARPA. It's one of the few recommendations coming out of this Department of Defense that actually got overturned by the commission. But the impact was still about 20,000 jobs and 4 million square feet of space, mostly affecting Crystal City. And so we could sit around and say, woe is me, you know, what are we going to do? Our life is over. But instead we started replanning Crystal City. And how do we repurpose these buildings, and which of these buildings should stay, and what should the long-term economic mix be in Crystal City, and should we have more residential, and how do we take Class B and Class C office space and convert it to Class A office space, because the location is still a phenomenal location, and we would probably do nothing if we just could count on GSA money coming in through year in and year out. We're not going to have it. Let's do something different. And so, yeah, it's bad luck. But we're working very hard to turn it into good luck. So, so the ability to see, even in simple ways, changes and services that affect people in positive ways, and being able to think a generation, or you know, the real rewards, I think, of working in local government, and especially in the council manager form of government that is geared that way. But we can only do that if there's a pipeline of people coming through with the skills and especially the interest to fill the jobs in council manager forms of government, and that's you. And so thank you for being interested in local government, and thank you for forming a chapter so you can begin to really understand the form of government and what it means to really be a professional manager.